Candice, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. We do have a topic that's not wedding related, and I'm super anxious and excited to get into that topic. So thank you for being such a big part of the wedding and doing Aaron's hair and quite an experience, wasn't it?
It was incredible. I mean, I've never been to and the wedding, all aspects of it were pretty incredible. I've never experienced an Indian wedding ceremony or all of the other ceremonies that come with it. So it was really quite the experience for us, my husband and I, and everybody.
Yeah. So we could spend an entire session on that today, but that pushes a little bit too into the personal side of things. But obviously, you and I could spend an entire day talking about that. But let's get on the topic that I really wanted to explore with you today. And Candice, I've known you for a very long time. You've been a business owner that has had the ups and downs through the years. And but you've run a very successful business. Now you're at 2 locations, and you shared with me something that was something you did in your salon, and it really jumped out at me because you ranked it as one of the most significant things you've ever done as a salon owner. So I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah. So should I just tell the whole story, Tom, or do you want me to?
I think you just tell the whole story. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, like I get to work with a lot of salon owners through Qnity, and although I'm a coach, I still have the same challenges that everybody else has in their salon. And one of the most difficult ones, and the ones that really can kind of punch you in the gut, is when your culture is off in your salon. And that has been my experience at my original location for quite a while now. So really just kind of dialing it back to where this all started, like post-COVID shutdown, like we had been back up and running for a while. And I was pretty busy getting my second location up and running. So I wasn't in the salon quite as much. And I had some senior staff leave, not necessarily for any bad reasons, but it definitely kind of shifted the vibe of the salon for sure. And so, we were lucky enough to have a lot of new people come in. And so, we were able to maintain like our team size. But the shifting around of people, me being elsewhere, it just kind of led to this culture funk. And then at the end of last year, despite a lot of efforts to do all the things that we're all trying to do, create more flexibility, get rid of the more strict dress code, create opportunities for people to make a lot more money and work a lot less, despite all of those efforts and all those things being put into place, I still lost about 4 more people at the end of last year, which really was just kind of like the, final push over the edge of like, okay, we have like a big culture problem here. And, I've been chipping away at it, and it's just not really gotten anywhere. And so I was feeling really, really defeated, like wanted to throw in the towel. Like every day I'm like, I should just quit this, stop torturing myself with this, focus on being an educator, and it was rough. And I know that a lot of the salon owners that I talk to every day are in that same boat, and it's so emotional and exhausting and sad. But yeah, and I had talked to every single team member individually. Okay, and this is an important part of this. Every single one I pulled aside. Hey, can I have some feedback? I'm really struggling with this. And, the general feedback that I got from them is, yeah, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. Oh, man, I wish it wasn't like this. I don't know what you can do. I remember one of the last conversations I had before I decided to do what I'm going to share in a moment here was with one of my stylists, Ash. And she was like, I don't know, but we need a big reset. Good luck. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how you're going to do this. So fast forward to the fill. what was the name, and excuse me for not remembering this, of the woman that was talking about mental health? Do you remember her name? I'm not remembering it right now.
Melissa Dolman. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So she spoke and she said something that really stuck with me and my GM Ashley, which is like, hey, like, you're human too. Your mental health matters. You don't have to have all the answers to everything at all times. And, you know, it's okay to say that to people. It's okay to just get on their level and say, look, I don't know. And so between her share and the actual roundtables that were done, these like facilitated, really thoughtful conversations that allowed people to really be vulnerable, I thought, this is what I need to do with my team, is have a conversation like this. And I've heard from a lot of salon owners about them trying to have this type of conversation, and it's been referred to as like, I'm gonna have a, you know, a come to Jesus with my staff, or, you know, I'm just gonna sit them down. And I didn't want to attack anybody or, you know, make anybody feel bad for me, or even unintentionally come off as like manipulative. I wanted to be really, really transparent and really authentic. And so I really sat down. I thought, I need my team to know that I am trying the hardest I can. And I need to tell my team that I am willing to own that I may have failed them. And not over and over again, but unintentionally, I may have done the wrong thing. And just say, I'm trying, I'm human, but I may have messed up, and I need your help to get this back on track. And so I warned them ahead of time that we were going to be having, you know, a different type of team meeting. Typically we did like, you know, slide deck, presentation, workshops, kind of things that mirror some of the workshops that we do at Qnity, fun stuff, but I needed to shift for this. So I set up our tables in a circle. We went in a different area of the salon that's a little bit more quiet. And I just started out by having a very vulnerable moment with them. And I prepared myself. I had notes because I didn't want to mess up what I was going to share. And then I told them, I said, I have notes about what I'm about to say because I don't want to mess it up. So this doesn't mean it's not real. It just means it's serious, and I want to be really clear. So I actually used the 3 C's to share the things that I was feeling. And so, you know, starting with closure, like, hey, here's the thing, like, we lost a lot of people. You know, I know that the culture is not good. I'm not in denial of that, you know, and everybody seems, you know, angry or upset or dissatisfied in some sort of way. You know, and I feel that way too. I feel really defeated. You know, I genuinely like feel like I can't keep doing this like this. And it's kind of sucking the life out of me. And if I have ever made you feel that way, I am so, so sorry, you know? And so, I mean, I get emotional a little bit talking about it, you know? But anyway, so I told them, I said, you know, what I want moving into clarity is like, I want to recover, you know, what used to make me feel really proud of Citrus, which is our culture, and like how much people really enjoyed being there. And so I asked him, are you willing to work on this with me? Because if we could do this again, like, I would feel really proud of my business again. You know, we've had a lot of, you know, left brain success and profitability and in our systems and operations. But at the end of the day, if people don't like working there, I can't be, it's that unity thing. I can't be really proud of that. And they said yes. And I think they were pretty tripped out that I did that, because I was, I mean, just talking about it now, you can tell I'm emotional. You should have seen me there. And I wasn't doing it to be manipulative. I was just being myself. And so anyways, that's the whole lead up to what I did. I feel like I've been talking for a long time. Should I keep going?
No, I'm going to just let you run on this, let you run on this one. And, you know, obviously you did share with me, there's a lot of vulnerability in this and transparency, and it's absolutely coming through. This is an amazing share, actually. Keep going. This is a great story. It's a great It's a great way to really look at something that you just feel like squeezed. You just feel like you don't know where to go. You feel stuck, and keep going. This is a phenomenal share.
Um, so I asked them if they were willing to work on it with me, and they said yes. Okay. And so here's where I had to really be thoughtful going into it about, I don't want to set up some sort of meeting that turns into like, pitchforks being out and everybody airing out all their problems in a way that, feels that would make me feel attacked, or my managers, or each other. And so before we got started, I said, I want to create a safe space here and just create some boundaries. Okay. And so I called them boundaries instead of rules, because I didn't want it to feel weird. But I said, look, we're not going to there's no finger pointing here. Okay. There's no passive aggressive, sighs, eye rolls, things like that are going to make people feel uncomfortable, and we can't have that. So restrain yourself, and then I said, when we express what we need, I want us to use nonviolent communication only. And so this is something that I learned from my parents as a teenager, in communicating, which is, and I explained to them, share what you have experienced, identify your feelings, express what you need, and request the help. And I actually printed out these little visuals with all 4 steps and put them on the table, just so people could like really be thoughtful when they shared. I asked everybody to participate. I said, please don't take over the conversation. We need to hear from everybody, and we only have 90 minutes. So time limit was set, all of this. And so we went for it. And, they had some specific requests. It wasn't anything that I was a little nervous that they were going to be like, we need to close the salon on Saturdays or something like that, I was going to have to say no. There was nothing like that. It was all these little things that were just either assumptions that we needed to clear up, or they needed to clear up assumptions that maybe we as leaders had of them, we don't want to work, that sort of, they don't want to work, that sort of thing. We cleared all that stuff out. So basically they asked, they felt like the managers were not as approachable as they could be, which gave the managers to have a conversation of like, oh my gosh, no, I want you to approach me. And again, assumptions. That stylist doesn't like me, or doesn't like to be told what to do. This manager doesn't like me. No, it's just a matter of people assuming that that's what's happening. There's a couple other low-hanging fruit, junior talent needing a little bit more support. So we talked about that. Breaks after a certain number of haircuts in a row, things that I would have been happy to do that I didn't even know were on the radar. So interestingly enough, I wrote down everything that they had requested, and I had to go. Like I actually had an appointment and I had to leave, and Ashley had to go too. And we both walked away, without a ton of closure from this meeting. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? Did we just like rip a hole in the sky, or was that good? I have no idea what happened. And everybody kind of walked away a little bit like stunned, and so I from all those notes, I wrote a big email and I said, here's what I heard from you, and here's how we're going to respond to this, which I think was really important to confirm that we heard them. And the next day I got back to work. I had no idea what I was going to walk into. And the whole salon just felt like there was like this cloud that was lifted off of it. Even though we didn't really have any like really strong things that came out of it, it was just about having a conversation. So I got up to my desk. There's a bunch of notes on my desk from the team. Thank you for yesterday. I can't wait to continue this conversation. And we have had another meeting since where we've tackled some other things that were like points of frustration. But again, for the most part, low-hanging fruit, and it was just about being open. And I told you this, Tom, and I'll say this again now, like, this is the most significant culture shift we have ever created in our 14 years of business. And it happened in, really in an hour and a half. My husband.
Let that sink in for a moment. Come back to your husband in a moment, whatever you're going to say there. But that's really what caught my attention. I thought this is a light bulb moments conversation. That you've been in business how long?
14 years.
So out of 14 years, the most significant cultural shift you've ever had.
Yeah.
All right, keep going. You were going to say something about your husband?
Well, I was just going to say, he's in and out of the salon fixing things and whatnot. And he came in to fix something. And later that evening, I got home and he was like, man, I went into that salon. I didn't even recognize it. It felt completely different. Everybody was saying hi. Everybody seemed like they're in a great mood. We're getting emails from customers. Just want to thank you. I had a great experience. Like, it's affecting all those other things that that we're always trying to remedy. And it really just goes to show, like, root cause. Like, if your people are in a funk, that's where you got to start, And so, and for me, it's like, feel 100 pounds lighter. Even if, the couple weeks after, as things fell into place, I was telling Ashley, I was like, man, I've been obsessing over the culture funk in our salon for so long. Now that that's gone, I'm like trying to figure out new things to think about. There's a lot of space in there now. I'm like, okay, what do I focus on? So, it's been pretty amazing. And part of me is like, dang, I wish I would have done this 2 years ago. I suffered for a long time when I just needed to not have the answers, not change the dress code, not give pricing autonomy. I mean, I did all those things and they were important and meaningful to my team, but like, it really came down to just getting on the same page as them. And you don't have to have all the answers. You can ask them. And so it was a matter of me saying, hey, how do you want to be led? And they came to the same conclusions that I did, for things that we have in place, policies and systems and all of that. But it was just about understanding why those exist and that they're there to support people, not to control people. And, there's a lot more trust in our structures and systems now. And so we're going to continue to have meetings in this format for a while. We won't necessarily be tackling culture every time because I feel like we've moved through most of that. But, having that style of a meeting for how we are going to tackle customer service or technical development or mission and values. I'm excited.
So it was very courageous of you. I could see that this really pushed your boundaries personally from a vulnerability and and it's really amazing. I'm still, if you were in touch with them one-on-one and you felt like you had the one-on-one, why do you suppose things didn't come out? What was because it was the group element that was the X factor here to remove the culture funk. Why is that?
I talked with people about that because I was trying to figure it out too. I'm like, I don't know why this worked and those meetings didn't. I was just as open in those meetings. But I think if we don't catch everybody at the same time, the way that they explained it was like, yeah, I would talk to you and I'd be like, okay, I kind of understand. Go downstairs and there's maybe a negative conversation happening and it immediately kind of undoes what happened. We all needed to have a reset together at the same time. And we all needed to be in the same room and look in each other's eyes and say, I'm willing to work on this. Not, oh, I hear you, okay. And so there was a commitment that we made as a group before we even started the discussion, which is, I do want this to be better and I'm willing to share what I need, and we're willing to listen. I'm willing to shift some things so that myself, like me as a team member, and all of our team can move forward in a way that feels good. I think it was that.
I would expect that your vulnerability was at another level than it might have been in the past. Is that a fair statement? Had
Yeah.
you been that vulnerable? Okay.
Well, I've always had all the answers, or the
Oh,
solutions. And I went into this, and it was a very weird feeling, but I went into this saying, knowing what I was going to say in the beginning, right? We talk about closure, clarity, and confidence. I told you, closure was here's what happened. Clarity is here's what I want to happen and how that would make me feel and how I hope it would make you feel. Confidence is what we're going to do to get there. I didn't have that part.
mm,
They needed to have that part for me. And we needed to have that discussion. And so I had no idea. Even like I said, even walking away from the meeting, I was like, I hope we figured it out, or
mm,
we got some traction. And so it was about figuring out what to do next together that made the difference. But also that was the scariest part for me because I didn't know what was going to come up.
yeah. The vulnerability obviously was an important factor. The boundaries that you established at the very beginning had to be a very important factor, so it didn't get off the rails.
Mhm.
Um, and I think you've had some conclusions since. You've had some perspective, about how people want to be led and meetings. And so what shifted as we really kind of look forward and really help guide others that might be in a cultural funk like that?
Yeah, I think meeting wise, like, a few years ago, I would put on like a full circus of a workshop. I mean, food, desserts, decorating the tables, all of these things. And I, and big presentation activities, all this things that we love. I love those things. But if you're not in a good place, those things can almost be received as like annoying. Right. And so that was a big thing to realize is like, hey, I can't pretend everything's fine when it's not. Like, I have to really get down to the bottom of this. Now, that's one reason why I wanted to shift the style of the meetings. But the other thing that I learned after doing it is like how important transparency is. There is overall, there is kind of a lack of trust in leadership right now. I mean, and this goes all the way up, politicians, all these things. There's a lack of trust in leadership, and there's an assumption that maybe people who are leading do not have the best intentions. And so, before with things that needed to be maybe didn't need to be explained. Here's why here's the policy. Now we're creating a policy for this because of all of these things. Before, that felt like too much information to give, like I was going to bore people with it. What I'm learning is that my team needs to know why everything is the way that it is so that they trust the system that is used to uphold or to resolve certain things. And so that was a really big one. And then also involvement. Jody had shared, these key factors of leadership, a year or so ago. And I don't remember all of them, but I remember one of them was involvement. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting because like, your core leadership team, like your managers, they always have your back. They're always engaged and excited, and it's because they're involved. And so if you can create an opportunity for the rest of the team to be involved about where the business is going and how it's going to get there, then you're going to have, a higher level of engagement or buy-in or trust. And so those were big takeaways for me. And after, having done this, I'm like, okay, yeah, that was a real thing. That was true. That was a true need. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, so when when we look at structure, and how does this change the structure of your calendar when it comes to meetings and all of that? So let's look out maybe 13 weeks, 26 weeks, that type of thing. So how does it affect the structure of how you do business?
Well, we've always done a quarterly all team meeting. And that's what this was. They actually requested that we do another session like very soon. So we scheduled one like 2 weeks later, and they stayed late. I got pizza. We closed at 7. They stayed till 9 to have another one of these discussions because it was really important to them. And so then after that one, they said we could probably spread them out a little bit more. I feel better now. And so we're going to do a seasonal roundtable, and we'll have a focus. It's not going to all be like let's fix what's broken in the culture, because we're moving through that now. So seasonal roundtable that is brief, an hour and a half, that is focused, that has boundaries, that has a very clear intention for what we're trying to do. I mean, that's how it affects the calendar. But I will say it's actually easier to prepare for that type of meeting than for a full presentation and workshop. To prepare for that meeting, it's think about what you want and check your ego at the door. And that's it, and I hate to admit, I do have an ego. I have a lot of pride. And so sometimes it's hard to hear that what you're trying to do isn't working, but you have to hear it, or you're just going to be you and yourself,
Yeah, it resonates with me what you said about the relative preparation and delivery between sort of a normal salon meeting where there's presentation, there's slides, there's education, there's food. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to have an engaging, meeting. Whereas this is just, make sure that you are, facilitate really well and make sure that you've got the boundaries and all of that. But truly, if you have the facilitation skills, if you have the boundaries, if you have a structure around it, it's a heck of a lot easier than preparing like a full-blown workshop-driven salon meeting.
Yeah, and definitely, like, I used a lot of and granted, this was a more personal situation, but I used a lot of the facilitating, techniques that I've learned in facilitating roundtables for Qnity, or, in group coaching. I used a lot of that. Like, I think when I first started doing that facilitation for Qnity, I was always nervous to interject, right? Or to stop something that was getting out of control, because I didn't want to come off rude. But I've learned how to do that in a way that's well received. And so, no finger pointing was one of our boundaries. And somebody brought up an individual, and I was able to say, whoa. And she was like, sorry. But it wasn't, she didn't feel scolded because the boundary was set ahead of time. And I knew how to Tom, you taught me that, Tom, put your hand up, hold on, and so that's what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really a great share and a great Lightbulb Moments episode. We've talked so much about the business aspect, the data studies, all of that. And, certainly finding and keeping talent is huge. But while you have the talent, making sure their level of engagement is at its peak is really something I think everybody can relate with and look for tools and ideas. So anything else that you want to share before we wrap up, Candice?
No, not necessarily. I think I shared it all, and just to be really honest, this is new. This has been going on for a couple of months now, and we're going to continue to work this way. And so I might have more to share later, but for right now, it just feels like, as complex as it is, it was that simple. I don't know how to say it any other way. Just about admitting that you're human and that you're working with humans, and acknowledging and creating space for how everybody feels.
So Joe Deanda asked a question here. He asked, what were the 4 points of expressing yourself that you shared again is what the question is.
So if you look up, I'll share them, but if you
Okay.
wanted to read a little bit more about it, it's called nonviolent communication, or NVC. It's pretty popular subject, but it is let's see, it is expressing sharing your observation or observing what has happened, expressing your feelings, so how that made you feel, and then requesting what you want to change because of your need for blank. And so I have a little visual that I could send you, Joe, if you want. But
Very good.
and if you Google it, there's so much really great information about it, about NVC.
This might have been one of my favorite light bulb moments with you, Candice, that you've been a guest. I don't know how many times, I don't know how many light bulbs, but here's another one coming your way. So let's everybody give Candice a virtual round of applause. Thanks, Candice. A great session. Yeah, it's really caused me to reflect quite a bit since we've had, because you have brought this up a couple times. And to me, when you said that this is the most significant cultural shift that you've had since you've been open, is just remarkable. So thank you. Don't go away though. All right. Well, listen, what a great share by Candice. I have, let me see here, some other things to share with you. If you'll just give me a second here before we wrap up today, including something on the calendar that I want to talk about with Candice being present. So let me just kind of come back to my slides here. Okay. So we have coming up, actually I don't need this. We have coming up in September. We have 2 workshops, and they are adjacent to the Minneapolis airport, very easy to get in and out on. It's September 19th and 20th. I certainly hope I got those dates right. Somebody put in the chat if that's not right. But we have our execution workshop. Okay, Sonia just put in the chat. We have 2 workshops going on simultaneously. We have our execution workshop. The first time we did it was the end of June, and it was unbelievable. It's really the most buttoned down version of use of our tools to get things done. The feedback was tremendous in June, so we already added another date, and it's in September, and it is in the chat for that. It's called Execution SBO, and that's going to be led by Heath Smith. Simultaneous, we'll have our profit 2-day profit program, which we call Money SBO, that will be led by Candice. And then there'll be overlap between the 2 groups for efficiency and meals and engagement, all of that. But we have 2 separate tracks going on. Enrollment is open. We'd love to have you join us. There's no substitute for in-person. These workshops has the most current Qnity execution tools, including some that none of you have ever used before. So certainly join us September 18th and 19th. Candice, it's going to be great to have you back over in the Twin Cities, and it's going to be here before we know it, right?
Yeah, so looking forward to it.
All right. And then, so as we wrap up here, we've given Candice the golden light bulb here. And Lightheart Sanders, thanks for their sponsorship of Lightbulb Moments, as well as Benefits by Qnity, which offers Ally Health. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love hearing from you. Submit a Lightbulb moment, or if you want to be a guest, let us know. And also watch check out Erin's podcast, Money O2. She's got some great episodes that she's loaded very recently. And a lot of gratitude for all of you that joined us this week. We took a couple weeks off, and always love these Wednesday sessions. So I wish all of you a great rest of the week. We'll be back with you live next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. Thanks again to Candice Gliatto. Thanks again to the Qnity team for helping to produce this. And most importantly, for all of you that joined us, whether you're live with us or you're watching the YouTube episode, we thank you. And we'll see you very soon. Thanks again. Bye now.